And here in chapter 14, we're going to focus on making the business case for information systems and more specifically focusing on managing those types of projects. This slide introduces the important elements that should be included in a business case for the acquisition and development of a new information system. If you think about this topic, think about attempting to create a business case for a major purchase, maybe that you've recently made or would like to make. Maybe a house or a car or something obviously on the high end. There are 7 factors that should be addressed when making the business case for an information system. Here we emphasize the importance of making sure systems projects ultimately support the firm's overall business goals. We don't want to implement an information system simply to have the latest and greatest or just because. We want to make sure ultimately that we're supporting the overall strategic plan of the business. A key document in ensuring this is the information systems plan. What management decisions are involved in the management strategy? We think about hardware acquisition, telecommunications, centralization of authority, data and hardware, required organizational change, etc. Here we continue to look at the steps a firm should take in selecting the right systems projects to pursue. Why is it important to inventory existing hardware and software? Can you give an example of a long-term information requirement versus short-term? Looking at portfolio analysis, which is a method used to evaluate alternative systems projects according to their level of risk and benefit. In portfolio analysis, you seek to have a balance between types of systems based on the level of risk you can afford, so similar to a financial portfolio. What kinds of systems projects do you think would be riskier than others? How could you determine the relative benefit of an information system? And so companies should examine their portfolio of projects in terms of potential benefits and likely risks. Certain kinds of projects should be avoided altogether and others developed rapidly. There's no ideal mix. Companies in different industries have different profiles. This graphic illustrates the priorities a firm should give to information systems with different levels of risks and benefits. The only projects to avoid are high-risk, low-benefit projects. The emphasis given to any of the other 3 categories depends on the individual firm. Scoring models are a convenient way to rank projects for development, but it is necessary to clarify precisely what are the dimensions of comparison and have all the participants in scoring systems to agree on how to measure those dimensions. A financial analysis should precede the use of scoring models so that everyone understands the financial impact on the firm using fairly objective criteria. This slide, an example, provides an excerpt from Table 14.2 in our text. In portfolio analysis, systems are compared along the lines of risk and benefit. So this slide examines the way a project's benefits can be identified and quantified or evaluated. In addition to identifying direct costs, so costs for hardware, services, personnel, etc., firms need to identify tangible benefits and intangible benefits. Can you provide examples of tangible and intangible benefits? Note that Chapter 5, when discussed, introduced the total cost of ownership, or the TCO, method for evaluating the cost of IS projects. The TCO method does include expenditures beyond the initial cost of purchasing and installing hardware and software, but does not typically deal with benefits, cost categories such as complexity costs, or soft and strategic factors, which we will discuss later. This slide introduces the practice of using financial analysis to determine what the return on investment is for an IS project. Why do you think using these capital budgeting methods may be more accurate in understanding the value of an information system rather than a TCO approach? At the same time, what are some of the pitfalls of using only an ROI approach to investing in IT? Although costs might be relatively easy to establish, benefits are not so easy to identify, and especially in a quantitative manner. This slide emphasizes the high risk that projects may run over budget or take more time than anticipated to deliver. Why do you think this occurs so frequently? In many aspects, we refer to this as scope creep. The slide also details the main ways a system can be considered to have failed. Without proper management, a systems development project takes longer to complete and most often exceeds the allocated budget. The resulting information system most likely is technically inferior and may not be able to demonstrate any benefits to the organization. This slide introduces the main activities involved in project management and lists the 5 major variables that project management must deal with. What do you think scope means? Can you think of what project management activities concern the 5 variables? For example, to control scope, project managers define the work as included in the project. To manage the time spent on the project management estimates the time to complete each task and schedules the task for optimal efficiency. Here we discuss a major factor in evaluating projects: risk. Most managers don't like to think about risk, and most make no attempt to measure it. Most managers are optimists and think about benefits. For instance, in the financial meltdown of 2007, financial managers did not seriously consider risk, or worse, neglected risk calculations. A great many systems projects fail, which perhaps could have been avoided had managers had a better understanding of project risk. This slide emphasizes that introduction or alteration of an information system has a powerful behavioral and organizational impact. Change management is required to counter resistance and opposition. This slide also introduces the concept of implementation and the role of the systems analyst as a change agent, a key role in change management efforts. Two important factors in successful implementation are user involvement and management support. This slide discusses the role of users and the effects of user-designer communications gap. Can you provide examples of user concerns and designer concerns regarding an information system? What are the goals of the two groups? And here we emphasize the high failure rate for large-scale enterprise and business process management projects and the importance of implementation and change management. To some extent, the failure rate has declined in recent years as the major vendor firms stabilize their offerings, making technology less of a risk. In turn, large corporations have developed a deep experience base with large-scale systems. Nevertheless, large-scale system implementations almost invariably run over budget and are behind schedule. The next few slides discuss various project management, requirements gathering, and planning methodologies that can be used to counter different types of implementation problems. For instance, technical complexity can be managed by using internal integration tools. The Gantt chart in this figure shows the task, person days, and initial of each responsible person, as well as the start and finish dates for each task. The resource summary provides a good manager with the total person days for each month and for each person working on the project to manage the project successfully. The project described here is a data administration project. In this Gantt chart, the orange lines show the beginning, duration, and end of each task. Organizing a project in this way can allow a manager to see what is or should be worked on at any given time. This is a simplified PERT chart for creating a small website. It shows the ordering of project tasks and the relationship of a task with preceding and succeeding tasks. This slide discusses a third type of tool to meet implementation challenges, external integration tools, and discusses the forms that user resistance may take. Have you ever witnessed user resistance to an information system at your workplace or within a school building? Here we discuss the ways in which a new information system can impact an organization. Table 14.5 in the text lists the organizational factors in systems planning and implementation. Can you identify some of these? So, employee participation and involvement, job design, standards and performance monitoring, ergonomics, employee grievance resolution procedures, health and safety, and government regulatory compliance. This slide also discusses the use of an organizational impact analysis to anticipate how an upcoming system will affect an organization. It further discusses the use of socio-technical design, or a method to address human and organizational practices into IS projects. This slide focuses on commercial software that is available to assist in managing projects, the most popular of which is Microsoft Project. There are also numerous cloud-based project management tools.